belong to Taiban, where the desert winds blow free, where an old church stands sentinel for all the world to see. Through these empty streets, where dreams once used to thrive, the whispers of the past keep memories alive. It's Jen's highways and horizons, where the stories never end. I'm your guide through forgotten places, round each dusty bend. So buckle up and join me on this journey back in time. It's Jen's highways and horizons, where the past and present shine.
Here we are driving on Highway 60 in eastern New Mexico towards Fort Sumner. It's been nothing but vast, lonely countryside for miles. We blinked and we were through the ghost town of Taiban, but a prominent landmark sitting on a slight rise overlooking the remains of town piqued our interest, so we turned around to do some exploring. Taiban, take 2. Off in the distance, you can catch a glimpse of what caught our attention. This is the Taiban Presbyterian Church. Let's check it out. The church is a prominent landmark that sits overlooking the remains of the town on a slight rise surrounded by prairie. It wasn't always like this, though. This used to be in a neighborhood and surrounded by houses, businesses, and even a 2-story high school. In the early 1900s, the railroad encouraged settlement of the area, and the population peaked at around 400 in 1910, with over 40 operating businesses. The church was built in 1908 with neoclassical and Greek Revival style elements at the cost of $250. Although this is a Presbyterian church, the Methodist and Baptist congregations also held services there. Each denomination rotated Sunday services, with the Presbyterians having 1 Sunday per month, the Methodist having 2, one for the Methodist and one for the Southern Methodist, and the Baptist having 1. There were no pews in this church. Instead, the members sat in cane-bottom chairs. Church services ended around 1936 due to declining population, but continued to hold special events such as weddings and funerals for a period of time thereafter. In 1960, the bell tower and bell were removed and sold, with interior fixtures and furniture. The remaining light fixtures are blowing in the breeze, which gives it a little creepy feeling, but the stained beadboard ceilings are still relatively untouched by weather or vandals. The alcove in the back of the church still has the raised pulpit where the pastor would give his sermons. In 2006, vandalism damaged 7 of the 9 windows, as well as the entry doors and the foundation. The building has been left exposed since then and continues to be vandalized. The church sits on rock and concrete foundation, which has also been vandalized. Most of the exterior has been spared, except for this portion here in the back. You can see how close we are to the train tracks, but the train no longer stops in Taiban, which is part of the town's demise. The townspeople who originally settled here were predominantly farmers and sheep herders who faced difficult times with droughts and inhospitable and barren lands. The town declined due to this drought, the train and highway diverting traffic away, and the Great Depression. A lot of fascinating history about the church and the town of Taiban was submitted by Suzanne Eldridge, the current owner of the church, to the New Mexico State Register of Cultural Properties. She also included several historic pictures of the church and the town. The town was founded in 1906, so these 1907 pictures of the bank construction and the hotel are some of the earliest. Although Taiban was a dying town, it did hang on into the 50s and 60s. Part of the reason for that was the Taliban International Airport. Though trains no longer stopped here, the airport still brought wealthy people from dry counties to Taiban because it was known as the bootlegging capital of the region. As we head west on Highway 60, we can still see the church in the distance. Let's see what else this town has to offer. We only saw 3 or 4 occupied homes in this area, and this was probably the nicest of the bunch. The trading post was opened in 1915, but clearly is no longer in operation, and there is a little post office right next to it. Let's check out this side street. These first couple of buildings are clearly abandoned, but I was undecided if this home was occupied or not. Beyond that, it's just endless prairie. These last few buildings on the north side of the highway look as though their past was much brighter than what their future holds. Let's turn around and check out the south side of the highway. The fire department sits directly across the street from the post office and the trading post. This residence is the only other structure that remains on the south side of the highway. So let's get turned around, say our final farewell to the ghost town of Taiban, and let's take a brief journey even further back in time, before Taiban was even a town, when Billy the Kid was here. That's right, Billy the Kid. On December 13th, 1880, there was a $500 bounty placed on the kid's head for his capture. On December 23rd, 1880, Sheriff Pat Garrett and his posse found the kid and 3 friends holed up in a small stone structure in the Taiban area where he was captured. After several transfers, a trial, and sentencing, he was then placed in the Lincoln County Jail, where he famously escaped on April 28, 1881. But it all started right here in Taiban. On this trip, we also visited his nearby gravesite and Lincoln County, so stay tuned for some more Billy the Kid adventures. I hope you enjoyed this unexpected stop in New Mexico as much as we did, and we look forward to seeing you on our next adventure.